What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your reading for June 16th. We are here and we're doing this. Um, I don't know. I don't know either. so, we're going to dive in. I would like to invite the angels, my guardian angels, my spirit guides, protectors, teachers, and their healing energy to this space. And I ask that it is a safe and brave space that allows for the fullest expression of our light, humanity, ascension, and healing. Okay, so we're going to dive in here and pull from the postcards from Spirit deck and see where this takes us. See where this takes us. I had an oil change this morning, so I'm filming this the day before the 16th, so I had an oil change and I got an iced coffee, so it's officially Pride Month. Gays and iced coffee, I don't know. It's a thing. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives for the 16th, please? I'm just hearing the word release and surrender. Release and surrender. Okay, so this one is unlock your magic. I like that. Feels like key energy, like something is being unlocked, but like unleashed, maybe. Dearest you, going the extra mile to achieve your dreams and putting in some overtime will reap big rewards. Now is the time for you to act, stir up some energy, and put those plans into action. There are many windows of opportunity that open, but close quickly when you don't take the risk and go for it. Today, be confident that your hard work will pay off and you'll feel that satisfaction and fulfillment of reaching your desired outcome. It might turn out even better than you expected. Isn't that amazing? Remember, however much work you're willing to put in, we will match it tenfold on our end. Everyone over here is rooting for you to win the game of life, so just do it. Loving you so much. I like that energy a lot. What do you think, Chicken Little? Do you like it? Yeah. I call her Chicken Little because when I used to come home from work, she would be like waiting at the door, like like the chicken being like, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. So it just stuck after that, right? Yes. All right, Spirit, where are we going today? June 16th. What messages do you have for my creative collective? All of them. I'm going to put these back just because I know some people might be like, no, but there's too many there and they weren't energetically forming a cohesive story. So we start with the Five of Wands here. I'm hearing okay, so I thought of this, I looked at this and thought like, oh yeah, training, like in Mulan. And then that song, Be a Man, which I took too literally, I guess. No, I'm kidding. But I think, this is really about putting in the work into a sense of security for yourself. Let me undo this so it doesn't look like I have a pylon sitting in there. There we go. Good Lord. Yeah. So I feel like there's like working towards stability for yourself. What that means, though, let's figure out here. That's still okay. Working towards a sense of security, but this is possibly also like variations of yourself. That Ten of Swords really wanted to come out. Something's really over. In case you were wondering, like there's a cycle or something that you're really letting go of so emphatically that it came out 3 times. Whoa, that's a big deal. But this to me it's almost like different parts of you that maybe have been fighting against yourself, and this is just that sort of gentle surrender into what you value, like, you know. Like allowing yourself to be held by your life. Whatever it is that you're letting go of, I feel like this is a celebration thereof, but I also feel like this is your guide celebrating you too. I feel that strongly. It reminds me of a harvest. Like so I live in a more rural area, and it reminds me of the corn in farmers' fields in the fall as it turns yellow and is ready to be harvested. So I feel like there's this like something is coming to fruition, but it's not like just plans alone. Like it's like a full ass harvest of something. Um, I mean, I'm hearing the law of one, so it could be something related to that. But also, I mean, I think that we can sometimes attach to those things. I think we can sometimes attach to those things as like our way out, like, oh, the harvest is coming, and we can get so caught up in those attachments instead of seeing it as a frame with which to view our human experience. Because again, I say this so much, but like, yes, we are spiritual beings, but we also have to honor the human experience, and to want to escape from that is just another side of not wanting to be here. And there's so much here for us, right? There's so much here. If everything is a teacher, then every day is this beautiful lesson and not one that's hard. Like, think about your favorite lessons with teachers that you adored, right, in school. Just the ones that made everything so fun, the ones that made things so joyous. Like, you couldn't wait for those classes because you knew that it would just be a brilliant experience. Like, that is life. That is every day, or what it can be, I think. And I mean, even strangers, right? Like, there are kids that come into my work, and I love working with kids. It's so fun for me. It's probably, I'm realizing that's like probably a lot of like my Libra in the fifth house energy. But the other day I was chatting with a little, we're now best friends, in case you were wondering, me and this little one. Um, they came in and they were like, "What's the opposite of purple?" I was like, I don't know, but A, we're best friends now, and B, I don't have any answers, but I have books that will give you even better questions. Come on, let's go. Like, so it's that kind of idea of like, those are the kinds of teachers that come across your path and they just delight and surprise you. So it's like less about this wanting to escape the everyday and more about sinking into it. Like, what's going to bring you that level of joy, even in the midst of even in the midst of busy, even in the midst of just life, like stuff, like life stuff. Okay. Spirit, what message do you have for my daily creatives for June 16th, please? Judgment. Okay, so I'm just hearing right here very clearly. Is it going to show up left to right? Yes, I hope so. So it's almost like there's a decision that you're making, but don't hold yourself to a standard that isn't like a 10 of pentacles. Like, it's like it does amount to a 10 of pentacles, but just make sure that it's not like, there's a way that this is showing up as a discordant energy in terms of the possibility of it becoming a tower, is where you hold yourself to a standard of perfection that doesn't exist. Right? You're in a 9 of pentacles. The 10 of pentacles comes because of somebody bringing something in, not because of you having it all on your own. And I think it's just remembering that we're incomplete. Like, we're here to be incomplete. We're not here to be done. And that's sort of this judgment idea, like the angel calling the souls of the dead back to heaven, right? So it's like remembering that, like that's complete. This is the sense of completion. This is life, right? So it's just remembering that. That's not what each card represents in this spread necessarily, but that came rocketing through very clearly. So just remember that. Remember it, and don't hold yourself to that unfair standard. And the other thing to keep in mind too is that if people are holding you to a standard of that, like of that perfection, and I've had to really pay attention to this in my own life, where if people do that, it's because the energy of that is active somewhere in you. And this isn't to say, like, I'm not talking about things like with violence and stuff like that. We're not victim shaming here. I'm talking about when it triggers you and someone brings that to your doorstep, it's always worth a reflection inward to say, am I cultivating this same energy towards myself? Like, am I cultivating standards of perfection towards myself that make this behavior acceptable or okay? Am I facing outwards, looking like, is that something that I am doing in my own life? And that's why it's just okay that it's here. So instead of being frustrated at the conditions, sometimes it's important to take a look at the state, manage your emotional state. Yes. Feel it all. Yes. But then pull back for a second and then look at the dynamic and whether it's there because you're doing that to yourself and allowing it because it's just, the energy that you're used to, right? Like the temperature that you're used to. 9 of Wands, Queen of Wands. I just heard upgrade. my God, not with people. Like I don't like the energy of being like, you're upgrading a person. It's not, ugh, it's such a, no, people are not discardable things. Even the ones that we don't necessarily agree with or enjoy or like. No, no one's discardable. Let me keep pulling these cards. Four of Wands, King of Wands. Hey, you. Yes. Okay, so I feel like there's a way that you were maybe a little bit at odds with yourself, but you're really stepping into something beautiful here. And I want to say at odds with yourself because I think there were just these parts of you that were like maybe different ways of doing things, different ways of translating energy into the world. And it's like you were, I want to say you were at a place of trying to express what was important to you, trying to express an energy. And I think you're stepping more into this really grounded King of Pentacles energy for yourself, where you're seeing not just the value of things, but the value of yourself. And there's something that you're able to now offer others. Because Pentacle energy in the singular form in the court aspects is usually about a forward, like an outward expression of 1111 on the time. Why wouldn't it be? Sorry, just the pentacle energy here is this outward expression of this energy, right? And then I think that this 10 of swords and 6 of wands is really about it's really about you laying to rest this way of like fighting yourself, because that's the 5 of wands, but then there's one that you're carrying and that's yours alone. So it's almost like these competing priorities, you're not putting them down, but you're deploying them in service to your success. You're allowing them to be as they are without needing to change them. Just let them be. But you're reminding yourself that there's an idea or a spark or an ace of wands that you can carry, and that that's the torch that you're holding for yourself, as opposed to the multiplicity of priorities or voices or noise around you right now in this 5 of wands energy. That's excellent. And then this is the energy that could become a tower if it kind of goes unchecked, which is the 9 of pentacles. But I feel like that's where I picked up on this sort of like standard for yourself that was so high that it was like a perfection that it's not that you couldn't obtain it, because you can really, like, you can, but it's like you created that, like the goalposts changed all the time, so you couldn't ever realize it because you were kind of holding yourself outside of it. The way I think about this is like the way we construct subjects. So geeking out a little bit with the stuff that I studied in school, but it's like the way that we construct subjects, because of the number of narcissists that I encountered on my path and, different abuses that I encountered, this became a real interest of mine. And how do we define what a thing is, right? What is the social construction of reality? What is the construction of reality? And how does matter come to matter, right? Like, what does all of this mean? Big philosophical questions that rabbit holes that I've fallen down, for 12 hours at a time. Delightful. But there's a way here that, like, when I think about the way that we construct the subject of transness, so as in, trans people, when you say women and then trans women, what you're doing is constructing women as a subject and then not including trans women as part of that, because the designation should actually be cisgender women and trans women. And when we default to women, it leaves out, by discursive default, a specific group of people because of how it's been constructed normatively speaking. So bringing that into this 9 of pentacles, the way that I'm getting this standard energy is that there's a way that you constructed the life that you want, the ideal relationship that you want. You had constructed that in a way that left you outside of it. So based on the very definition and way that you would frame it in your world, so your construction of reality, the meaning that you would make from it, you would leave yourself outside of it. You would be outside of that discursively. So it was so subconscious that it was just a norm for you. And that's kind of, it's like, that's where I feel like it just sort of played tricks with you, because it was a confident energy, but there was also a way that it was so singular. It was so singular that it was difficult for you to conceive of yourself. Like, it's almost like I get this energy of like looking at a Knight of Pentacles that you would want to come with you, and just forgetting that like the 10 of Pentacles is a connection. Ten of Pentacles is a connectedness. It is a oneness energy, right? It is an invested energy, and you invest in yourself, yes, but have you also invested in the construction of relationships around you? Have you also invested in definitions around you and meaning in the world around you in a way that welcomes connections in? And it's not like we don't put up walls intentionally, I don't think. I mean, most of the time. But I think that we can really get this idea because a lot of the time, like you do you. Well, what does that mean? Like, yes, it is a singular energy. Yes, focus on self. And I know, as someone who's had, issues with alcoholism in my family, I know that codependence has been a thing that I've had to really work on and really work with to see all of my own BS and take responsibility for that, right? So it's like, and sitting in the feelings that are yucky, like they don't feel great, to see yourself because you assume yourself as lesser for experiencing it when that's just not the truth, right? It doesn't mean you can't take responsibility for that, but it doesn't really do much to help you if you're in this energy of holding yourself to a standard that doesn't really exist because the goalposts keep changing. And that's where you can get into this Five of Wands energy where you fight yourself. You end up fighting yourself because these are all energies that exist within you. And instead of mobilizing them in a singular direction, where's the Six of Wands here? Instead of mobilizing them in a singular direction, as with the Six of Wands, like it's a smoother energy, you end up kind of tripping over things, and then you fall into like the sword stand that's nearby this training ground, and then you get all these swords. Like it's just, if we were to use a metaphor, right? So I touched her tail, so she was like, don't do that. What? Did you see this? She doesn't bite. It's so cute though. Like that's all she does. Thank you. But yeah, I feel like you're in this healing energy. This is a pattern that you're healing. But again, it's just this construction of how have you constructed the idea of who you are? And people might say like you're pulling it into your head too much, but I think that we have 3D and 5D are connected. They're not separate pieces where you reach for one and absolve, like just cast aside the other. They're so connected, and it's not an ascension of like going up. If it's linear and there's no hierarchy and everything just is, right, in a field around you, then there's no higher or lesser. It's an integration of the energies of each and understanding that they bring a richness. But it's almost like leaving yourself out discursively speaking. Like I use that example with trans folks. It's a pet peeve of mine where people will say like, it's Women's History Month and we must also do blah, blah, blah for trans people. And it's like, no, trans women are women, period. So it's like understanding that the way that we construct women, right? It's like you can say cisgender women if you mean cisgender women, and trans women if you mean trans women, but like separating it, it's almost like there was this split. And I use this as an example because it's something that is very clear. So, yeah. But I think it's like you're seeing this, and it's like these are the downloads that are coming to you. Like it could be through this reading or other ways where you're realizing there's like a recognition of this, and it's like it's calling you back to yourself. It's calling you back home. I'm hearing Gabriel. I don't know if that's Gabriel calling them back. Forgive me. I have some biblical knowledge, but I tried to stay away from the Book of Revelation and just other, that kind of thing. Just because of the way that it has been weaponized and used to justify a lot of harm. So yeah, but nonetheless, I always found Jesus' teaching to be more relevant than Pollyanity anyway. So I think this though is like this energy of calling back to yourself. It's like calling energy back to yourself as well, because you're recognizing that it was never that you gave your power away to people. You gave your power away to concepts and definitions. You gave your power away to and through these conceptualizations of who you are, and not who you are versus who you want to be and who you're, being, and like this discord in that way. It's like the literal mental, this cognitive construction of your subjectivity. I wish I had a fancier or sexier way of wording that, but I think it anyways, so your big challenge is, I think, letting go of that and understanding that these wands might have protected you at one point, and you might hold on to them because they remind you of what it means to walk through fire. but you also don't have to carry them. That doesn't have to be something you carry on your back. And I think it was, yeah, that's like on the bottom of the deck, I saw the 10 of Wands. So it's like very telling to me that there's this releasing energy, because the 10 of Swords and 10 of Wands are the releasing energies. Um, so the Nine of Pentacles is the pre-Empress energy, and I've come to understand the Nine of Wands as sort of a pre-Emperor energy, interestingly enough, because it's sort of the shadow of the Emperor integrating, right? And the shadow of the Emperor is, instead of, it's like firm control, like being kind of controlling about your definition, your self-concept, as opposed to just letting it flow. Letting it flow. And this is one part, letting your freak flag fly. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I said that. It's really true. But like, letting your flag fly like that, but then also understanding that that can become a shadow, because the way that you fly it and the defensiveness that you carry in your body with it, it becomes a lesser version of itself, because you are shouting who you are. And I mean, at Pride, like, I that's like different, I think. I'm talking about like in the everyday, where it's like you can't just be in a room. You have to announce it through these like, I'm just seeing this like energy that explodes outward, as opposed to just being in yourself in moment by moment. It's like there's this way of being where it's like you're caught up in action, and the action becomes these sparks and this like fire, instead of just letting your light speak for itself, which is a much it's very easy to say this and to say, oh, that's just what you have to do. It's like, okay, well, what does that even mean? What it means is just finding peace in the present moment, and understanding that you don't have to show up in a room being everything to everyone. You can just be yourself. You can just be you. I know that not everyone, likes this kind of tarot, because I don't read relationship into and out of it right from the jump, and a lot of readers do, and that's so good, because that's their specialty. You can see that. What I like to read more is energetics, energy flow, and integrating different lessons that I've picked up along the way that serve the message and the energy. This is more creative potential. This is like the primordial soup of the energy in you that then can give birth to other things. And I know that it's not for everyone, but that's my flag that I fly, right? That creativity is like my flag that I let fly. And I think that's where it's like you have to really step into and just own that. And that's where this is the kind of triumph over that energy in this Queen of Wands, right? Triumph over just meaning that you are you're not afraid to shine your light. You're very comfortable in that energy. And there is like a potential counterpart here in like the King of Wands and Queen of Wands showed up in the same reading, quite close to one another. So I do get the impression, if this is not the acceleration or progression or maturation, thank you. Oh my gosh, let me just go through all the words in this thesaurus. I'll get to the last one in but this maturation of creative energy, where you are standing in your power. Maybe not the Emperor, but this is also King energy, which is like, this is the aspect of the Emperor that you need to embody right now, right? Because different stages of our life and different contexts in our life require different aspects of the Emperor or Empress, right? Or the Emperor. Got to get that in there for me. And all my non-binary pals. So the Emperor, though, like, you have like the King of Cups. There are times where you're going to need to be in your, in your cups more than you are in your wands, in relationship. But then if you're in a workplace, you're going to need to be in more swords, or you're going to need to be in more pentacles if you're in a strategic planning phase of something, right? So it's understanding that all of these aspects of the Emperor and Empress are accessible to us at all time, because that's how we show up in the world. But there are different ways that our energy can translate into these, into the minor arcana or into the court cards, right? So I feel like this is really the story of your energy progressing, creatively speaking, but also instinctively. The fire, to me, in this particular spread is showing up as instinctive energy. There's something that is like a gut instinct. Creative sparks are instantaneous, but creative sparks are also, they're a birthing energy, number one. Number two, they also help to, how do I word this? They bring things together. They cause things to cohere. Fire was, arguably one of the first things that really brought humanity together, right? As humanity evolved, fire was the thing that we gathered around to tell stories around, right? Fire was that original sense of community, because that's where people would gather, and specific to seasons, right? In the Northern Hemisphere where I am in Southern Ontario in the winter. So around, I think daylight savings time kicks in around September, October, maybe October. So the days get markedly shorter. So, you'd have that sense of community in fire. And so that's where it's like, even though air tends to be more of the 11th house element, I see fire as just as relevant to that, because that's what brings everyone. That's the instinct of coming together. The community itself, the collective, has that conceptual definition of Aquarian, Uranian, 11th house energy, but the fire is what brings people together, right? So it's like thinking about that energy in projects you're working on, like where's the fire, and understanding the maturation of this energy within yourself too, because it's not just about bringing things together in your life, it's also about bringing community together. Like, what is it? And I think this is going to be more important. I really, really do, because when things beyond our control, like markets and world events, make our worlds feel smaller. And I know this because as a trans person, this is what's happened during election cycles, when people take like hits at the community in policy and just to stir up a base in ways that make no sense, right? Your world gets smaller. And when your world gets smaller, your community gets bigger. So it's like it's your sense of community connection. It gets much bigger. So that expands. That's the Jupiter, right? So it's almost like this is kind of a shift that we're going to go through, where like your neighbor will become increasingly relevant. And not that they aren't already, but this sense of community is going to be more prominent, I think, much more prominent in I would say the next year. And that's just like the writing is kind of on the wall, especially in Canada, with just all of the news about housing markets and things like that. So don't go looking for that news if you're not inclined. It kind of finds me, and I ask that Spirit show it to me as is relevant, and as is in a very minimally charged way, so that I can have information about what's happening without feeling like I need to respond to it. Like there's no like low vibe aspect to it. It's just, okay, it finds me and it does do this when I need it, and in a way that doesn't throw me completely off course. So that's an intention that you can set as well. Back to this reading though, I do feel like this sense of stability though is coming in, because you're in this sort of creative place that isn't just about the making of projects. It's like creative energy in terms of this fire that you're bringing to relationship, this fire that you're bringing to connection. And it's understanding that impulse of fire, not impulsivity in it, but this impulse of it to make and to share, right? To make and to share the ways that humanity has used fire, from like, the dawn of time, really, the dawn of when we went from algae to, people, to I'm hearing hominids, so probably, but it's like, when we started to make that trajectory, fire was one of the big things, like heat, right? That's what creates, what makes. So it's like getting in touch with the heat, getting in touch with your heat, and understanding how it connects all of us together, right? I'm seeing this beautiful web. But this Four of Wands, I think, is the stability that's bringing in. And it's a stability that's happening within you. And this could be a relationship that's coming in for you, which would not shock me given some of the other cards here. But I think this is also about the stability that is now, it's like within you, and that's where you can express it outwards and offer that to others, because it is something of value. It is a connecting thing, right? This is also the marriage and contracts card. So you could have soulmate relationships or other kind of soul contracts coming in, or literal contracts. So we'll see here. This reading ended up being a bit long. And as I've done before, I apologize about the shine on the cards here, but Sleeping Beauty over here. Hey. She knows when I'm talking to her. Her tail flips and hits the desk. She's fake sleeping, right? Mm-hmm. What? Oh my goodness. Spirit, what message do you have for my daily creatives for June 16th? Are you showing off now? Yeah. Okay, so we have the Four of Swords on the Four of Wands and the King of Wands. I feel like that's where there's this kind of going through this process is healing how you can commit, what you can commit to. Yeah, because we can only commit to things that match our frequency, right? And this isn't about non-committal energy. This isn't about like halfway energy or anything like that. I think this is really an energy of seeing the forest for the trees. Number one. Number two, I think this is also about you committing to your own healing process. And that is allowing for this beautiful externalization thereof. The Empress. Yeah, that's this beautiful externalization thereof, right? And like I said, we all have the Emperor and Empress, the Emperor in us. Um, and I think this is beautiful integrative energy. Three of Swords. Yeah, it's a healing of this. Judgment, again. Five of Swords. Death and Six of Cups. Yeah, this is a transformation of the way things have been. And I think this is transforming how things have been and really opening up your energy to how they are. And this is how you are. You're showing up as the Empress here, which isn't just like a, high five, you did it. It's not like that. It's like now what's possible because of the Empress. What's possible because of the Empress. What's possible because of the Empress. Spirit, can you give me some messages on this Five of Wands, Nine of Wands, and Queen of Wands, please? Okay, so we have the King of Swords. We have the Ten of Pentacles. There it is. Nine of Swords. Page of Cups. Nine of Cups. Yeah, so I think this is moving towards that. This is the healing of relationships, right? This is like the parts of you that were kind of at war with yourself. They were at war. You were at war with yourself. And I think what that did was it threw you into this energy of the Nine of Wands. So the way I'm looking at it here is like the Five of Wands. The thing that adds up to this Nine of Wands is the Four. The Four of Wands here is what is that's the connection, right? The bringing that connection in. You were hanging on to all these wands and calling it stability because you had 4 extra wands, but it wasn't actually a Four of Wands. It was you hanging on to conflict, these competing priorities, these competing energies within you. And it didn't really liberate you or free you. But now there's like a remedying of perspective with this King of Swords clarity and this Ten of Pentacles, you're understanding and being willing to kind of end the cycle of worry because you see where that 10th pentacle comes from, right? Page of Cups, King of Cups. And that's the dawn of a new day, right? So I feel like there's this beautiful emotional healing that has taken place. We're going to see how this plays out in the other aspects of this spread. But I really like this so far. Like, I feel like this energy, it could just be Gemini or like prepping for, Cancer season. But it's just such a healing energy I'm getting from this. If the Star came out, it would not shock me. The Lovers, equal healing, equal parts healing. Ace of Cups on the bottom. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's like, this is beautiful heart healing happening right now. And I think that it's not so much that you're healing circumstances as it is that you've healed yourself. You've healed the goalposts that you've created for yourself, because I'm seeing this here as being what we're clarifying now. You're healing those goalposts that were like shifting and changing and you were constantly moving them, and and you would call it like innovation. You would call it all these things, but what was actually happening is you were holding yourself outside of the definition of light. You were holding yourself outside of the definition of love. You were holding yourself outside of the definition of what is like what you were really, really wanting. And it's not about just manifesting like, oh, hold it outside of yourself and it won't show up. Think about it in terms of, no, it's not the presence and absence piece. I'm talking here about the fact that you were holding these things outside of yourself in a way that made it so that you could never really become them, because they were outside of you. So that's where this Ace of Cups is really healing things. I think this is like the remedying of a healed heart. And this Lovers card, these are dancing characters. They're dancing. And I feel like this is you. Like just, it's kind of like, I'm seeing people slow dancing underneath, underneath a canopy of lights. Like, I mean, here, obviously, but just like in a courtyard. And it's like, stealing away to a fountain or something nearby, and like it's just like those tender moments. Like that's where you're opening up, and if not opening up, allowing the possibility at the very least for this energy to exist within you, allowing it to exist within you, because it really does remedies It remedies not just past pain, because we're not here just to heal past pain. Like, you know, it's sort of like this self-help version of like, you didn't come here to pay bills and die. You didn't come here to pay karmic debt and die. Like, that's not your purpose here. There's something bigger in terms of joy. And I think you're expanding into that memory, that remembrance, that remembering. There was something that I encountered when I was in grad school that was called the politics of forgetting, or the politics of memory. And it's just like the idea of what we remember collectively, and what we forget collectively, and why that matters. And I feel like if we turn that towards ourselves, we will see too, what we forget about ourselves is very indicative of the underlying beliefs, like the memories that we hold on to or forget. Like, do you remember good times with people who hurt you? Do you remember those, without needing to hang on to anger or upset or frustration? Can you be in that space and in that energy without going to the well, they were horrible? Because what am I trying to say here? We don't have to forgive everyone, and everyone has a different relationship to forgiveness, and I absolutely recognize that. What I'm talking about here is like, can you also hold space within you for the fact that at one point in time, the things that didn't work out were at one time what you thought you wanted? And can you just sit with yourself in that, instead of hating yourself or feeling like you need to do something with that truth? Like, can you just sit with that for a moment? Because I feel like there's Six of Wands showing up again. This is more of a motion card. It's a motion card, so it's like going off. I get the impression of like celebratory motion. Different kind of Six of Wands though. But to me, it's like you're moving towards this new, not self-concept, but truth. Ace of Swords on the bottom. This new truth. I feel like we are moving there collectively. And I feel like a lot of my messages tend to be more collectively oriented, because I'm very tuned into that. And I feel like we are collectively having this like reassessment of what is like a collective body, like those three energy centers, those three base energy centers. Because a lot of what's happening in the world, and even the lunar eclipses themselves, are connected to this root energy of safety, trust. What do these things mean? How do we express them through what is important and meaningful to us? So we get into this place where I feel like collectively that's what we're working through, and like the capacity to change it. What feels good in the context of these pentacles? What doesn't, right? That's the sacral energy. And then you get into the solar plexus energy where you're like, I will, I can, I could. And that's where we're starting to make these decisions about what matters. The Pluto return in the States, that energy is afoot, as it is in the Saturn retrograde too. And I think the Neptune retrograde on the 28th of this month is really going to be a stripping back of illusions so that we can see things very clearly. And I think that's where this kind of collective healing of those first, the sort of global three energy centers, the base energy centers are, right? And I think that it's happening in so many different ways that we don't realize. And it may not show up in policy for a while, because the energy I've experienced usually shifts. And then within 5 years, there is that policy reflection. So, I think about Roe versus Wade in the States. That's very first and second energy center. The rumor of it being overturned, right? This hasn't even actually been changed yet. But it's like that just pushing on that button, right? And then we get into the solar plexus energy of this is what we can do next about it. And that's where it's like we're in this place of healing those. So it may seem like a lot of my messages are based on safety and trust and all of that very baseline energy, but I feel like that's where we are collectively. And that's, again, I read collective energy very, very significantly and strongly. But I think it's okay to lean into that. Individually, we may be healing different things, but I think it's important to understand that if you're coming from a place of having integrated energies through your centers and through your auric bodies and through your auric layers, it's very important not to judge where we are collectively, but to understand that that's the role that we have to play, as opposed to putting it in this place of like this abstract mission. Well, what the hell does that mean? We have different ways that the skills that we bring here can ground the healing of these big questions that we're asking. And questions that are big like that, they do happen in the lower three centers because they free up love. They free up our capacity for joy. They free up our capacity to be connected to knowledge and understanding that we are spiritual beings in having a human experience. Yes, but spiritual beings more so than anything. So it's like this freeing up of energy. Okay, so Six of Wands and Knight of Pentacles. Spirit, do you have messages for my daily creatives here? Page of Wands, the Hanged Man. Yeah, it's like, remember how I said that there's this, these 5 wands that you were carrying here, these competing priorities or competing energies, and then you're understanding this idea, this spark that allows you to move everything forward in one direction as opposed to being like playing paintball in the dark. Sorry to blow a raspberry in your ear. But yeah, it's like that energy. And I feel like this Page of Wands is what helps you. That's like the individual wand that you carry. And this is you getting the bigger picture, you taking the bigger picture, seeing the bigger picture. And that's allowing you to really put this Ten of Swords and Judgment, this decision to put an end to cycles like this in their place, like, and not from a place of superiority, like I'm gonna put that in their place. No, I'm talking about understanding how to emplace it in a way that does not compartmentalize it. Oh, there's 2 that fell out on the bottom. Six of Swords and Justice. Yeah, beautiful transformative energy. Just a touch of Pluto in there with that butterfly. That's what butterflies represent to me too, by the way. Like, I think that's like Plutonic energy in its transformative capacity is best represented by the butterfly. And I've come to understand that more after meditating on the energy and just different ways that spirit has spoken to me through nature. But this sense of, I feel like there's this sense of things becoming, this is like an integrated, like things righting themselves, but not righting themselves because of like something outside of your control. This is, cause and effect, like Ace of Swords, cause, Two of Swords, effect, right? So this is like the wheel turning in a way, but this is a reminder that this is you. This is your energy in that spiral, in that portal. This is you turning the key, right? The Ace of Swords is here, and it's like, it's almost like some sword in the stone vibes, right? You had that in the stone, and you chose to wield that sword because you understood that you were capable of that. So on the Ten of Swords and Judgment, we have 5 of Pentacles. Ten of Cups. 8 of Cups. Queen of Swords. Page of Swords. Yeah. It's sort of like this. Okay, so we have the Ten of Swords and Judgment clarified by the 5 of Pentacles, the 10 of Cups, and the 8 of Cups. I almost get like there was this weight. This goes back to that. The decision is really about, are you going to decide to hold your joy outside of yourself? Right? Because these are 2 ways of holding joy outside of ourselves. We're in this fog. We're on a journey. We're in the midst of it. There's cups that we want. We're on the search for it. They're not here. The 5 of Pentacles is the falling, is the state, the mood, the emotion that is reflected after the fact. So the 10 of Cups is really this energy of your joy, your happiness, your happy place, right? Finding peace within yourself and then sharing it with another, that or others if you're polyamorous. So it's like, it's like this energy of being in joy, and not just in like, oh, enjoy that. I hope you enjoy it. It's like in dash joy. You're enjoying it. You're enjoying the moment. And then there's a specific kind of clarity that comes in. And I get the specificity of it because we go from the Queen of Swords, which is the general clarity, that's the broad clarity, into this Page of Swords energy, which is almost like funneling it into something specific. Like there's a specific truth or activity, a writing, something that you're channeling all of this into. And it's not just channeled messages, but there's a way that this energy is then directed towards something in particular. I'm going to pull another card just to clarify. Spirit, can you give me some clarification on what that is? 9 of Wands and 2 of Swords. I think this is about either, I'm hearing helping people make decisions about what to let go and what to hang on to, and not in an unsolicited way either, where you're like walking around to people in your life and going, you need to let go of this and you need to do this. That does not work well, my friends. But this is more of like assessing situations and understanding what you can let go of, right? And seeing your potential not from action, seeing your potential from what you can't see, the intangibles, the stuff that seems like it's outside of your reach, but in fact it's within your reach. You just can't hang on to it because these 9 of Wands are here, 4 on the time. And that's what I think this energy is kind of the decision that you're making right now is a decision not just to let go. And there is a ton of Wands and fire energy here, but I see the emotions and pentacles in this beautiful balance. And the swords too are here in the forms of truth after letting go, the articulation of a feeling of like there's things are right in the world, like and I don't think there's anything that you really have to do. You don't have to act on anything. What does this mean? Well, to me that means that you just have to have the next step, right? It's like the video that I posted yesterday for A Course in Creativity. You don't have to see everything. You just have to know what to do next, right? I could never have predicted my voice being as wonderful sounding to me as it is. I could never have predicted that. But if I hadn't taken that first step of just booking the appointment, even though they seemed so disconnected from one another and I just wanted everything to be done, if I discounted what this could feel like for me because it didn't seem like what I had envisioned the solution being, I would never know the gender euphoria. I mean, I might, but I wouldn't know the gender euphoria that I do now, right? I wouldn't know that. So it's just so, it's like I think it's like healing a cause and effect relationship here. I'm going to pull from the Notes from the Universe on Love and Connection deck by Mike Dooley. Spirit, what messages do you have for my daily creatives for June 16th, please? June 16th. Please and thank you. June 16th. Okay, so let us do this here. So turn on your love light. Yeah, I think this is really about shining the light for others. I think this is about shining a light for others. I'm hearing trine. Trine. Could be something trining your son, or I don't know, whatever the love light represents for you. But okay. Trine. You will be surprised. That's a good energy. Yeah. I'm just with some of the epiphanies that I've had, that's like not just a message for the collective, but I'm just having a moment and being like, oh, thanks, Spirit. You'll be surprised. And I think it's okay to surprise yourself too. This reading is very long, so we're going to wrap it up here. Spirit, what messages do you have to close out this reading for my daily creatives for June 16th, please? And thank you so much. I let go and allow the universe to do her thing. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, indeed. I surrender it all. I love that energy. I had a reading once that I did, and just the energy of it was so overwhelmingly beautiful. And just this idea of like, you can have all of me. Like just that, like, I mean, not in a toxic way in relationships, but like just that just kind of popped up again. Like I surrender it all. Like you can just, this like, it's like, what is that like? Like when, I don't know, like when someone like sees you, well, okay, so if you're dating someone or whatever, and that's like the first time that you got no clothes on, right? Like everything, it's like they see everything. And the same thing is true of emotional vulnerability too, outside of like physical stuff or sex. Like there's an emotional side of that too. And I think when we think about it this way, we can't hide shit from the universe. So Spirit sees everything, and because Spirit is everything, so it's also the good and bad that we see in us. So surrendering it all isn't just about, I'm going to let it all go, and if it comes back, it's also understanding that the things that you want to hide from yourself, or the things that you feel the least proud of, or you feel shame about, Spirit's already seen it. So it's like there's already someone in the world that has seen the parts of you that you most dislike about yourself, or that you feel the most nervous about other people seeing for whatever reason, right? So that's already, Spirit already has seen those things and still loves you. You still wake up in the morning, not because you're worthy, but just because that's how the energy is working. And it's like removing the charge almost, and understanding what surrender means. And then understanding too, that that's also how like we believe surrender to take place. So that's the ease with which other people will feel surrendering to us too. And like this, I feel like this is the relationship storyline coming through here. But yeah. Oh my goodness. Turn on your love light, Daily Creatives. That's your message for June 16th. And what a message. Oh my goodness. Um, yeah. So if this resonated, please like and subscribe. It helps me to continue to grow the channel. And I'm just really grateful that you're here. So thank you for watching. I truly do appreciate it. And there are other ways you can connect with me on the channel. So feel free to check those out. But if this is where we part, I hope wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, it finds you very well, my friends. Have a great day.